Tito.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Hey.
Hi, Danny.
Good
How are you
evening.
doing?
Good evening from Europe. We've got lots of people in the comments. We have Australia, and we have Europe, and we have America. So it's good evening from us, but it could be good morning. It could be good afternoon. So all of those things to you. I am Clare Harvey-May. I'm one of the technical experts for OM System Global, and I have fantastic colleagues with me today. We have Martin Garcia, or Tito, and Tito is the technical expert for Spain and Portugal and the southern region. And then we have Tomas Viktora, who is also the technical expert, but he covers the whole of Czech. So you've got a plethora of information here, and some really good, hopefully some good questions going to come in that we can answer. So say hello, guys. Introduce yourselves.
Hello. I'm Martin Garcia. I'm located in Madrid, in Spain, and I'm also work for the experts team in Europe and globally. And I'm in the team of Clare. And I'm really, really excited with this session, this live stream, because it's my first time. And obviously, it's evident that English is not my mother tongue, but I will be very, very glad in participating and contributing to whatever you can know from me. Yeah.
Perfect. And you, Thomas?
Hi, everyone. I'm Tomas Viktora, as you can read it down beside my picture. But basically, I'm the same as Claire and Martin. So we are the tech experts from Europe, and I'm seated in Czech Republic. But basically, we have all been doing Olympus, now OM System products for ages. I mean, I'm within the company like maybe 23, 24 years.
Whoa,
Something
really?
like that. Claire, you are about the same, Claire, right?
Well, no, I mean, I'm on my 10th year. And Tito, what about you?
Yes. About 16.
Whoa.
15 since 2007. Yeah.
So it's ages. It's ages. I mean,
ages.
So
it's a long time.
We are with the company for a long, long time, which actually also means that we tend to forget things. So if you ask us something that we don't know the answer to, we'll obviously have some backup. We have some other tech guys which are sitting in the background, so they will help us out. Don't worry.
So, I mean, we do have, we've got Dax in the background there, and he's answering some questions as well. Lots of questions coming in. The session, firstly, happy OM System Day, because it's exactly a year since the rebranding, and we thought we would do a live session to, maybe you've seen some Tech Tuesdays or Tech Thursdays where you can go in and ask David some questions, but we've decided to put it out there, and we're a global company now. So we wanted to show you some different faces of the company and who you may or may not meet in the future, which I think is fantastic. So in the comments, put where you're from. It's always great to see what part of the world you're tuning in from. And hopefully we can ask some questions. So let's have a quick hello. And then we will start looking at some questions, because I think we've got quite a lot to get through in an hour. So let's have a look at a couple of things where people are from. So we've got people from the States. We've got people from Australia. We've got some locals. Hey, Terry, lovely to see you. We've got Dominic from New York. So honestly, when we've gone global, it looks like you guys have gone global too. So we're really pleased to meet you, and thank you for joining us. So we're going to start straight off. We have a question from Mary, and Mary says, on the OM1, the slowest shutter speed I can get for SH2 drive mode is 1/320th. Is this lens dependent? And she's using the 12-200 and the 100-400. So who wants to jump in and answer this one? Thomas, I'm going to throw it to you.
Obviously, it is depending on the frame speed. So basically, with these lenses, they are not compatible with the 50 frames per second speed. If you are using the SH2. So basically, the slowest shutter speed in that case is only 1/320 of a second, which is, fast enough anyhow. So and if the lens is being used with the compatible one, if it's the compatible one, then it's double. So it's 1/640 of a second. So it is lens dependent basically.
Yeah,
Okay.
and there are charts out there that do that show what lenses you can get in the 50 frames a second. So that is something you'd need to look for. I'm not sure if it's actually on our website. I might need to check that one. But yeah, some lenses are compatible with the higher speeds and some aren't. So you do need to just check that compatibility. Well done.
Yeah,
Tick.
we have to consider one fact, and that is that obviously the focusing lens, which is the focusing element in the lens, it needs to move extremely fast, and some lenses obviously can do this, can achieve this speed, some cannot, so yeah, this is it.
See, how easy was that, guys? No, we were worried we couldn't answer any questions. So the second question is from Chris Towler, and Chris says, any recommendations for portable charger for the OM1? I'm going to throw this over to you, Tito.
Yeah, depending on if he wants just to charge the battery, or he wants also to power the camera while he's working. So in that case, he will need a portable charger compatible with power delivery, PD, because the camera is also PD. The OM1 is the only camera in our portfolio, in our lineup, which can be powered by power battery, by power bank, and also can charge the batteries at the same time. Yeah, I will recommend the PD portable charger.
Yeah, I mean, I use the Anchor.
I use Anchor
one.
Yeah,
it's got a good name. I mean, mine's pretty big because I use it to travel, use it to charge my Mac and my phone and my camera. So I've gone for a fairly hefty one, but the tech on those portable chargers is getting better and better all the time, and they are getting smaller and smaller for a good power output. But as Tito says, if you want to run the camera, you need to buy a PD, that's for delivery, and just ever which one you can afford. So that's really good. Well done. Another question answered.
Chris is talking about the OM1.
One comment to this, because the winter season is actually coming, right? At least here in Europe and US. And basically, many of you are going to shoot out in the mountains in freezing conditions. Then obviously the batteries are running out very, very fast. So it's much better to actually have this kind of power delivery somewhere under your jacket, hidden it, make it warm, actually keep it warm. And basically just stick out, I don't know, half a meter, 1 meter long USB cable. And this is it, basically. So you don't need to take care, basically, of the batteries inside of the camera, because you are powering it from the outside, from the warm place.
What a good tip. And you can tell that Thomas comes from Czech, because it's really, really cold in Czech sometimes. And these tips are brilliant, because obviously, like you say, in some warmer places, probably you won't need this, but colder places, this is a really, really good tip. Thanks for that, Thomas.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it's getting warmer and warmer.
Thomas, let me add one more tip. Probably because of the OM1 can be charged and powered at the same time. If you are taking long exposure shots, time lapses or live composite for hours, if you are powering the camera from the power bank, if the power bank is out, goes off, it's empty, you can remove the power bank and connect another one. The camera will not stop the exposure. You can continue working. Because it changes. The powering is from the power bank to the battery, the internal battery in the body, and then you plug and unplug a new power bank, and the camera will continue working. This exposure will not stop.
See, and this is fantastic.
You can be shooting for years.
Well, 6 hours the shutter open, right? And like you say, this is a long time to have the shutter
open. Think about the time lapse.
Time lapse, right? Yeah, and this type of photography is very power hungry, isn't it? So brilliant, well done. Okay, let's get on to the next question. This is from John. I'll answer this one. We'll take it in turns. I have an OM1. What raw processing routines can I use? John, this is a really difficult question, because there are so many third-party software programs out there. Now, obviously, we do have Olympus Workspace, which is a completely free software platform that you can download. So if you're venturing into editing and raw editing, then obviously this is a good start, because it does deal with the Olympus the OMSYSTEM raw files really well. But actually, it really does depend on your workflow. There are so many recommendations, like Photoshop and
Capture
One, you know, so it's a difficult one as far as recommending one. But what I would say is with most third-party softwares, you get a 30-day free trial. Take use of that and take some time and see which one fits your workflow and fits the way you work. But as I said, if you get stuck, Olympus works or OM System. I'm going to say Olympus 100 times tonight. Shoot me. OM System Workspace is there and it's free, and that does at least allow you to handle the raw files and works really well. I hope that answered your question. Okay, let's go to Samba Photo. Now, this is a good question. He said, I don't know if it's a he or a she, so apologies, Samba. Considering a switch to a list from Nikon and Panasonic, will my current model of Panasonic flashes work with the OM1? Thomas, over to you.
I mean, honestly, Panasonic and Olympus, we are both on the same platform, right? So we are based on the standard, which is called Micro Four Thirds. So basically all these kind of, let's say, interconnection between flashes, bodies, lenses, it should all work basically, right? So even though you use Panasonic flashes, I mean, you should definitely be able to trigger them. It should communicate. But from my personal experience and the experience of my photographer friends, it's always better if you are buying the two brands and you want to match them together, always take the equipment into the store, you know, put the flash on, try it on, and you will make 100% sure, because it depends on the flash model, depends on the camera model. But yes, generally spoken, we can say that the Micro Four Thirds standard equipment in general, accessories should work together.
Right? And will you get TTL? Will you get through the lens metering if they put a non-OM flash on? I mean, they can fire it in full manual, but will you get TTL on some of those or not?
Yeah, I'm not very skilled on Panasonic flashes, but I think so. I think so. Yeah. They work also on TTL. But anyway, because of this is a Panasonic information, I will make sure from Panasonic. I would say yes. I will say yes because I have used. Yeah, you know what Thomas said. I fully agree that Micro Four Thirds is an open standard, and they should work. But they should work, but performance shouldn't be the same if they are using flashes from OMSYSTEM. You know, that's maybe that's the difference. But they should work. They should trigger the flash in any mode. No problem.
Yeah, and like Thomas says, the best thing to do is get that flash gun, go into your local store and try it on an OM1, and then you can be fully satisfied that it's working or not, and then you'll know which way to go after that.
Absolutely. But one tip to the flashes, if I may, and that is, if you want to use wireless flashes, then obviously I would still move you to our FL700 WR, because basically in that case, you just need a sender, you know, it's kind of tiny little computer which you put in the hot tube. And it's basically a sender, and the receiver is built in already in the FL700 flash from OMSYSTEM, or it's still branded Olympus. So basically, these type of flashes, you can have not just one, but a couple of flashes, you know, set up around, depending on what you are shooting, whether it's people, whether it's some other stuff out in the nature. You can even hide the flash behind the tree, for example, so that the flash does not actually is not reflected in the picture, but the light from the flash is there, you know. So you can do many other things like this with no cables at all attached, you know. So this kind of wireless shooting is extremely important for some genres. Maybe you are not using, I mean, maybe you don't need it, but for all of the other ones who need it, then it's FL700 WR, and this is the right flash.
Yeah, and also you can control the external flashes, the wireless flashes from the transmitter in the hot shield in the camera, but also you can do it from the super control panel, the super control panel in the camera, and that's the real big advantage with our flashes.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you haven't tried that, you really should.
And no limit with the flashes, the number of flashes. You can have 3 groups with no limit in the number of units. You can create really complex light schemes.
Yeah. So you can buy 100 flashes into each group, so it's 300 flashes.
Could you imagine all those going off at the same time? That would be fantastic. Okay, so we have a really interesting question from Ogo. I love the name Ogo. Any news regarding computational updates, i.e. firmware, regarding the OM1? Any plans to release a how-to AF PDF? This is a really good question. We are always updating and giving firmware updates to our cameras. Obviously, we don't know what's coming as far as anything computational, but when it comes to the how to AF, this is such a big subject. Obviously, we have a full dedicated section now in the OM1 because AF is such a huge part of performance, and depending on what you photograph, are you photographing wildlife, birds in flight, people? So it's quite a varied subject. Now there is lots of information out there already. For instance, Smith and Michael Amico have done whole Zoom sessions on AF class, and they are written quite often. So you do need to keep your eyes out on the My Olympus events page. Now, David had one go up a couple of weeks ago, and it went out like this. So they do go very quickly. But if all you got to do is get in touch via social media or whatever and say, we need another AF class. And as I said, David does one probably once a month. So you just need to keep your eyes out on the My Olympus events page, but there are also ambassadors. If you're close to an ambassador, or you're following them on Instagram, or they all do their own workshops as well. So again, it does depend on your genre and what exactly you're looking for. I would say with the AF, take it in chunks. Find out about the genre you're shooting for, and then you can then add extra knowledge as you go along because it's quite a big subject. But one you should all have a look at. And as I said, there's lots of information out there, but do have a look on the page. I think Espen Helland, one of our ambassadors, has courses. And you guys, you must have ambassadors that run courses on AF online and offline too, right?
Yeah, courses online, and also, as you said, depending on the location, depending on the region or on the country, we have, as you said, there are plenty of content in our channel. David Smith with Tech Talks from David Smith, and AF is so huge topic, so big. It has so many. Yeah, because for example, the OM1 is a really complete camera, and you can configure the camera for in so many ways. For example, this is just a sample. In my trainings, when I train the people, the OM1 users for the OM1, the C1, C2, C3, C4, and there are 4 samples. C1, for example, if you're using C1 for portrait, or you assign C2 for wildlife or for birding, for those kind of shootings, the assignment of the buttons is different. So you can have so many cameras in the camera. You can have 30 cameras in just one OM1, because you turn the mode dial in C1, and you have configured the camera for portrait, for example. You can assign to different buttons for phase and eye detection, phase selection, for activating. You can use the back and release button for focusing the face or the target you have decided. There are so many ways of combinations and configurations that the how to AF is a huge topic.
Huge. I mean, we dedicated a whole section in the menu to it, right? So yeah, it's a big topic. You were going to say, Thomas, sorry?
I was just about to say that basically I just want to stress out what Tito is saying. He's absolutely right. And there is, for example, one of these ambassadors, his name is Peter Bembosek. His webpage is sulasula.com. It's kind of strange wording, but there is the place where you can get the new PDF tutorial for OM1. And in this PDF tutorial, you actually learn exactly what Tito is describing, how to set up special buttons, how to set it up AF for different genres, for birding, for wildlife, for macro photography, all this kind of stuff. So you can actually have the kind of setup which this professional photographer is using. And in this PDF tutorial, I think it has 70, 80 pages or something like that. You actually learn step by step, how to do it, and how to memorize the setup into the custom buttons, and so on and so on. So it's just one of them, and there's many ambassadors worldwide, This one is in English. I mean, the PDF is in English, but obviously there will be many other ambassadors that will have similar content or video content, or other blog content in their website. Just follow our ambassadors, not just us, follow us obviously, but follow our ambassadors, and you will get lots of technology skills from them.
If you follow our ambassadors, you will learn much more.
Yeah. I mean,
they are professionals. We are not.
Yeah.
We are just tech experts.
Well, I mean, I think the thing is, ambassadors take photographs for a living, right? They rely on photography as an income, whereas we rely on photography for an income, but in a different way. We work for a manufacturer, so we have a slightly different outlook. And although we may all take pictures in our downtime, our ambassadors are taking pictures full time. They're full-time professional photographers, so they use these subjects day in and day out. And it's really worth plugging in, following them on Instagram, following them on Facebook. They all do tutorials. And if you are tuned into OM System and you're getting the newsletter, or if you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you will get notifications of what's coming up. And that's so important because, they may not be in your time zone, so you could go watch them back. And there is, if you look at the YouTube back catalogue and the Facebook back catalogue, there's so much information out there. So it's a lot of information, but I'm sure we'll find something for you there. Okay, right. Who wants to take this one? So, Thomas, I'm going to throw it at you. This is a good question because we get asked this all the time. Looking at switching from Canon RF full frame, will I lose considerable image quality? We love this question, don't we? The full frame question.
Yeah, Claire. But first of all, I think we should define what image quality means.
Right.
Yeah.
And you think, yeah.
I mean, from my point of view, it's really easy. Just again, look at the professional photographers who are shooting with our equipment. Look at their images. Ask them, are you losing something when you are not using full frame? The answer would be very simple. We are not losing anything. We are actually gaining a couple of things. We are gaining better image stabilization. We are gaining the fact that you can actually shoot an image somewhere out in the country, in the times or in the field where you will never not be able, but you would not like to carry the heavy equipment, up in the mountains. You take one camera, one tele lens from us, and altogether it is maybe less than 2 kilograms. You take the same stuff from full frame, all of a sudden you are on 3.5, maybe 4 kilograms. And you still have to carry all other stuff which you are taking out in the mountains, So many times it's not about actually comparing the image quality from one standard to the other, from full frame to micro four thirds, but it's comparing the fact that will you actually take the full frame camera with you to get the shot, or will you just keep it or leave it at the hotel, And these are many conditions. I have had a talk with many ambassadors who are shooting with micro four thirds. They are doing workshops for people shooting APS, full frame, micro four thirds, all kinds of cameras, all kinds of brands, all kinds of sensor sizes, And many times the story is, we just saw the bird sitting on the branch. So I grabbed my camera, I had a shot, and I had it immediately, The guys with full frame, they put it on a monopod or a tripod or something. They wanted to take a shot, but the bird was gone already. So the portability and flexibility of the system, because it's so small and lightweight, is actually what sometimes makes or does not make the shot. Obviously, we're not speaking about studio shots, where you can prepare the camera setup, where you can have everything done. That's a different story. But out there, that's why we are actually doing cameras for outdoor photography. Out there, the weight and size actually matters a lot.
Yeah. And
that was my answer.
Yeah, I mean, and it's always one of these things that we talk about a lot because people always say, oh, I have full frame, and that's great. But actually, you know what? It's not just the sensor that takes the picture. You need to rely on really good processor. You need to rely on really good glass. And let's talk about glass for 1 minute. We have a 150 to 400. You put the converter on that, you're getting 2000 millimeter in a 1.7 kilo lens. Now, with the image stabilization, there's no need to crop because you are literally full, the eyes of the bird or whatever it is. And this is the thing about full frame. People rely on full frame for the crop fact, so you can crop in afterwards. With our lenses and the focal length and the size and weight, there's no need for cropping. And this is the other joy of the system. So it's very interesting. Also with the OM1, you can now shoot in lower lights. You have better ISOs, better dynamic range, and this is just going to get better and better, isn't it, Tito?
Yeah, I think that I would say it depends on the kind of photography, the style of photography she's looking for. If she's thinking switching from Canon RF to Micro Four Thirds to OM system, but in addition to what you've said, I will say that computational photography, handheld photography is key for us, but also. Yeah. Do not forget that the micro 3-co lenses, the ratio between the diagonal of the sensor to the image circle is much bigger than any other system. So you will have much more sharper images on the corners, for example. There are so many things to, watch image quality. Blur images, if you don't have a good stabilization, you have 8 steps with our system. Talking about the pixel count, we don't care pixel count. Now you can have high resolution images, 50, 80 megapixels with high resolution, because you can shoot at 125th of a second handheld 50 megapixels of images. So there are so many computational advantages, benefits, and modes of shooting. Depending on the genre, you will surprise. Let me give you just one detail. I know anybody who has changed from full frame to Micro Four Thirds who has regretted to do it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. I know so many people that they look at the system and think, oh, I've heard good things, and then they try the system or so they borrow their friends and they cannot believe it. And let's talk about output. This is the other thing that is always so interesting. You get somebody like Andy Rouse, who's a very famous wildlife photographer, who upscales all his pictures to TIFF, and you can print them massively. Now, if you're only looking on a computer screen or on social media, obviously all the images are fairly squashed anyway. They get sort of degraded when you put them out on social media. But what is your output? Are you printing them to the size of a billboard? And that's the other thing you need to consider too. So there are so many factors, but let me tell you, the enjoyment of switching is just about, for me, being mobile and being able to carry the kit for a lot longer and going to places that you couldn't go when I used to shoot full frame. So that's it.
Absolutely. And this is actually, this tiny little piece is actually 1000 millimeter equivalent, guys. I mean, this is 1000 millimeter equivalent, and it weighs less than 2 kilograms. It's extremely small, portable, lightweight lens. And this is not just the body of OM1, but this lens is one of the major reasons why many wildlife and birding photographers are actually switching from other brands to Olympus.
And you can shoot at 1/8 of a second handheld with that lens. Handheld.
I love that. I mean, we use that. We use that word handheld a lot, but let me tell you, when you're trekking and you don't want to take your tripod and you don't want to take an extra 3 or 4 kilos, because that's what generally tripods, unless you can afford a really expensive carbon fiber one, going mobile makes your photography much more free. You can shoot left, you can shoot right. You're not just constrained by a tripod. So it's so important, that is, to get the shot. So come and join us. We're sure we'll look after you. See you on the other side. Okay, we've got Sean Ireland. Now, I don't know if that's Sean from Ireland or Sean Ireland, as in that's his last name. But we can answer the question, how do you take lightning photos with the camera? What settings do you use and stuff? Do you want to take that one?
It's a piece of cake. It's a piece of cake, actually.
Go on.
No, Sean, I mean, you've got basically 2 options. One of the options, and that's a brilliant feature, is to use our Pro Capture mode. We have actually started Pro Capture, or it was called Pre-Capture, I think 10 or 12 years ago already, in the camera which was called Olympus E100 RS like rapid speed. It was the very first camera ever in the world which actually could shoot the past somehow. We are. I think we are saying in the marketing material, we are shooting history, something like that, you know.
Yeah.
But all of you who know what Pro Capture is or don't know, the Pro Capture basically means that you just half press the trigger. Within half pressing the trigger, the camera is already shooting or it's actually buffering the images. And in the moment of fully pressing the trigger, you already have, for example, 35 images stored in your card, basically. If you keep it, you know, pressed a little bit longer, then you get another images. But imagine you are shooting flashes in the storm. Then you point the camera at the flashes, you know, you are waiting. Then the lightning goes. And on normal camera, this is the moment you press the trigger. But it's too late already. Not with the Pro Capture mode. If you have it turned on, you will always choose at least 2 or 3 images from these series of 35, for example, where you will have the lightning. So that's very easy. Or the second option is to use the live composite mode, which is the mode which we normally use for, let's say, long exposures, for example, star trace, you know, or light painting and stuff like that. You just point the camera, you put it on the tripod, obviously, you point it towards the storm, you know, where the flashes are happening or lightnings are happening, and you just turn it on and press the live composite mode. You press the trigger, and that's it. And then just look at the screen or on your mobile phone. You can watch it on your mobile phone because we have the Bluetooth communication between the camera and then the smartphone. And basically, you just look at the storm and you see one lightning, second lightning, third lightning. You can have many lightnings actually in one single picture. And as soon as you like the picture, you just press the trigger again, and that's it. That's done. You know. So you get 2 options, brilliant options, which are amazing. And there are many shots done by Olympus and OMSYSTEM.Cameras on the website. You can definitely have a look at them.
Yeah, I've got a confession to make, right? I have never used Pro Capture with Lightning because I always use Live Comp. And I was just sitting there thinking, you know, I've never tried that. And I am going to go out and try that because, yeah, Pro Capture, of course. Why not, right? But yeah, I always use Live Comp just because I'm lazy and it's just easy. It's quite easy. Press once, press twice, just wait for the magic to happen. What about you, Tito? What's your take on Lightning photography?
Yeah, I've used both systems, but I'm like you. I don't prefer, but I have used more Light Comp than Pro Capture for storms. In fact, I have my Instagram feed. I have a storm, and I forgot the camera was shooting. So I was at home. There was a storm in front. I placed the camera in the tripod. I started with the Light Comp, and I went for dinner. Yeah, and I forgot the camera was shooting. When I went back, I have an amazing picture with so many flashes of the storm. Yeah, I think Live Comp. Cool. In my case, I think Live Comp is more easy. It's easier for that. But Pro Capture, what we have said for decades, for years, if you've seen the action through the viewfinder, you've lost the shot. So now, depending on the configuration of your camera, depending on how you configure Pro Capture, you have 2 seconds to react. Since you see the action until you fully press the button. 2 seconds is so much time in photography. So you've seen the scene. You know that something is going to happen there. So you are storing in the buffer. You see the action. You take a shot. Then you press the button. You have 2 seconds because the OM1 has a buffer for 70 raw files in the memory buffer, and you have in Pro Capture you can have 99 pictures. The burst can have, the sequence can have 99. So you have 2 seconds because if you configure the camera with 25, for example, 25 frames per second, you have 2 seconds and a half to react, and the brain reacts in 0.3, 0.4,
0.5. Yeah, exactly. It's very slow. So, I mean, we think we're quick, but let me tell you, we're not quick. And as we get older, we get less quick, right?
I was about to say mine is even slower, you know.
I hope that helps.
We shouldn't forget actually to mention one thing, and that is basically that both Live Composite and Pro Capture we also have on the new OM5, right?
Right.
Yes.
Right. Correct.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if you're
the only difference. Sorry, Claire, you first.
No, Tito. No, you first.
Okay. No, I was going to say that the only difference between because the OM5 has so many things from the bigger sisters, but the pro capture in the OM5, the fastest sequence, the fastest burst mode is 30 frames per second. In the OM1 is 120. That's the difference. So depending on that, you have more or less reaction time. That's what I'm going to point out. Yeah.
I'm loving this, guys. We are firing through these questions. Okay, I forgot. Our lovely lady who's in the back end is probably going to be killing me because I haven't actually been putting the questions on screen. So I'm now actually going to put this question on the screen. Janie says, is there some place to go for questions on the OM1 and get a real-time or even delayed response? Well, I would say, Janie, if you go to our social channels and you DM I don't know if you're in the States or if you're in the UK, but obviously you have typed in English. Generally, one of the team on our social team will get in if they can't answer it themselves. And to be fair, they're pretty knowledgeable. They will get in touch with one of the technical team, and then the technical team will answer it. And so you will get a response. It may not be in the first 5 minutes, but definitely get an answer back. Our social team are on fire. So anything like that, just plug in, just get in, DM us on any of the platforms. And as I said, the guys will answer it themselves, or they will get in touch with one of us. And then of course you've got David Smith, who is always on the social platforms and the forums. He's always out there as well. So just shout, and we'll definitely get to answer you. I hope that helps. Okay, let's have a look. Next question. Marsha says, in which menu do I find how to turn on the blinkies? Now, I don't know if you guys know what the blinkies are. Do you understand this question?
I have no idea.
It's basically the highlight and shadow. You know how when you go to take
a
picture?
Okay. Yeah. The alert. Highlights and shadows alert. Okay.
Yeah, so
Blinkies.
yeah, we call it the blink. I don't know if this is a UK thing, a European thing. Guys, tell me if it's just the UK here that's going mad. But we call it the blinkies because it blinks on and off.
Yeah, when the highlights and shadows are blinking.
So what about you, Thomas? Do you call it the blinkies, or is that just us?
I think we even call it flickering in the camera, right?
Flickering. Okay. Well, flickering would be the light for us with the like fluorescent light. No, this is when you're highlight and shadow when you're pre-shooting. So
really? Okay.
Yeah. So this is in it depends on which model you're using. If you're using pre-OM1, it's in menu, set a custom menu D under D for display, and that's where you'll find it. In the OM1, it's David. Thomas, where is it in the OM1? You got your own one there. So it's your highlight and shadow display. So it's in brain's gone dead where it is.
Yeah, right. Brainstorming.
But it's also on the menus related to the display.
Yes, it's all about display. Yeah. And you have to basically check and uncheck the box. But as I said, we call it the blinkies. I just think this is so funny because I'm glad I'm on here, because you guys would have been like, what are they talking about? What is the blinkies?
yeah, but it makes sense because blinking. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, when you are overexposing or underexposing. Yeah,
exactly. So it's definitely in the display menu. Have you found it?
And also you can activate or you can enable or disable that option, because it will appear by sequentially pressing info when.
That's right.
When you are in the pre-shooting, you can activate or deactivate that option. And also when you're reviewing images and you want to check if they are overexposed or underexposed, it's a different menu.
Yeah,
it's a different option.
And that's a really tip. I don't know, guys, if you have done that. If you sat with your camera and you're looking through the viewfinder and you just press info, it will take you to a series types of display that you can have, and you can have one that has the image stabilization, one that has the what we call the spirit level, the guide for levels. You can have have the display completely clear. So if you want to, you're doing landscape photography and you want to see your lines or your perspective. Thomas, did you find it?
No, actually I didn't, because I'm still confusing it with the flickering, so I know where the flickering is, but
no, not flickering. In the control info, for shooting,
exposure
control
highlights.
Info. Exactly, and the other one, if you want to check over or under exposure,
over and under exposure,
is on the replay info.
Yeah, but I mean,
so I can tell you where it is on.
Let's find this out later. Let's go to another question, and then
let's do that
in the comments later on. Okay.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, let's go on to JTA. Any good links to learn how to use Live ND and Live Composite? Again, if you check out YouTube channels, there are loads of menu setup options. I know David did a couple a while ago. There's also one from Gavin Hoey from ages back. And I'm sure you guys have ambassadors as well that have done videos on Live Composite and Live Time, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of content. I was looking for the the menu. I was looking for
you both were. My OM one's over.
Yeah.
My OM one's over
let's
there.
Let's go to the answer. Let's go to the answer.
Well, actually, we've got the answer from David. We got the answer. It's menu, and I'm just looking at it now in the camera. It's menu, gear tab, page 4, and info setting. Thanks a lot, David.
Yeah.
Because I was still looking at the flickering, which is a totally different thing.
Well done, guys. Well done. So yeah, JTA, I would suggest that you head over to our YouTube channels, because there are lots of information. And David did one on Halloween using Live Composite, I think, not so long ago. So
yeah.
The scary mask, the Halloween. Yeah.
Exactly.
So there's lots and lots of information on there. So I would go and watch a couple of videos. Now, what I am going to say, we're 20 minutes left to go, is we do lots of tech videos. David shoots lots. We shoot lots in different languages, all for YouTube. Is there anything in particular that maybe we haven't done? Is there something that you would like us to do? As I said, if you look for our back catalogue, we think we've covered quite a lot. But is there something we've missed? Is there something that maybe needs updating? It's always really good to keep plugged in and ask us, when are you going to do a video on high res mode? When are you going to do it? And we can always then point you in the right direction. But if there is something, give us a shout. Okay, let's go on. I'm going to start this. Tito. No, actually, I'll give this one to Thomas, because we were just talking about this previously. I have an EM1 Mark III. How does it compare to the new OM5?
OM5.
Yeah, it's probably OM5, not EM5, right? That Dave was asking about.
Yeah, the EM5 is from 2012.
Yeah.
Basically, Dave, I mean, it's a very simple answer, because OM5, I would say, in one sentence, is a small package of EM1 Mark III, which has some slight differences, And even OM5 actually brings some new features, like the vertical video, like you can use OM5 like a webcam, for example. But otherwise, it inherited all the brilliant features from EM1 Mark III, which basically is like 6.5 or actually 7.5 EV step stabilization, which is great. It inherited, the true PIC9 processor, so it got better video through not only flat mode, but also the OM-Log 400, even the face detection. So basically the AF for faces, for eye detection, is much better and much more precise, even for smaller faces, in the picture. So, I mean, it's really got lots of features from EM1 Mark III. And if I was about to describe OM5 in one sentence, then I would again reply and say, it is EM1 Mark III in smaller retro design package. And that's it. Plus bringing those few features which I mentioned, So all of you actually who have been waiting to buy EM1 Mark III somewhere in the past, and you didn't buy it for whatever reasons, maybe one of the reasons was that it might seem a little bit too big, too heavy for you, and you wanted to have it in a smaller package. And you saw, okay, EM5 Mark III or EM10, Mark III, Mark IV, and you were still waiting for, let's say, better quality for those live computational features, like focusing on stars, like live ND filter, for example, and these kind of features, or even high-res shot. You probably all know that in the new OM5, we've got high-res shot not only from the tripod, but we are talking handheld today. All time we are talking handheld, handheld shooting with telelenses, handheld shooting with high resolution. And this is exactly what's another feature which was inherited from, let's say, our top models from OM1 and EM1 Mark III. So yeah, I mean, this is a brilliant camera. And when I was actually, Claire and Tito and all of you, it's just personal thing, but when I was thinking about this new camera, I found out that I am the best customer for it myself, because I'm not a professional photographer, but my genres is, if I was to choose one, then it's travel photography. But the travel photography, which I do, actually covers landscape, it covers macro, it covers birding, it covers, people, portraits, kind of street photography. So it covers everything that's happening outside during the traveling. So for me, OM5 is actually a little bit better than OM1. If I was a pro and I was earning money with it, obviously I would go to OM1. But for me, for myself, I mean, this is a brilliant tool, and you've got all the features from the previously our flagship, which was EM1 Mark III just 1.5 years ago, So yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
and I've got a confession to make. I mean, whenever we've bought out a flagship, I've always just gone straight for the flagship, right? I've always just gone for EM1X, EM1 Mark III, OM1, because you think, the bigger, the better, it's got all the power. But since lockdown and since I'm do a lot more walking, a lot more hiking, I've got a dog, actually, the OM5 with a little 1245 just tucked in a bag or over my shoulder is absolutely perfect, because it isn't an OM1. It's not gonna, it does wildlife and it does do some speedy stuff, but if you want the workhorse, you're going to go for the OM1. It's full on power, it has everything. But the OM5 is an incredible little piece of kit that you just, as I said, is that there's a market for people that are adventurers, that are hikers, that don't want to take all the pro lenses. They don't want to be weighed down by camera kit. They need blankets and food and light and boots and things like that. They want the camera to literally be 5% of what they carry. And I didn't get this. I was like, oh yeah, but these adventurer type people are the people that this camera is aimed at. And I've, like Thomas, have become a bit of one of those people.
Yeah.
I'm one of them, absolutely.
But I will add that the EM1 Mark III, I fully agree with all of those arguments. That the EM1 Mark III, if you're a shooter, if you're a photographer, that wildlife or birding, if you want a second grip, if you want a second battery, or you want that kind of photography, maybe EM1 Mark III, even though OM5 has so many features and so many specifications and so many functions from the EM1 Mark III. And from an ergonomics point of view, they are different. The EM1 Mark III is metallic, is a magnesium alloy. It depends on what you're looking for in your camera. If you need, because you are going to buy, or if you have long lenses with a bulkier camera with second grip, maybe it's more comfortable for that kind of shooting. Sorry.
Yeah.
And you can convert the camera, you can remove the grip, and you have a smaller camera. It will never be like an OM5, but the EM1 Mark III will provide you that advantages if you are a wildlife, or if you don't want to go to a EM1X, because the EM1X is a big block, it's a big camera body, and also OM1 because of the budget. I don't know, but with the EM1 Mark III for shooting, for action shooting, for wildlife, maybe has some features you will not find in the OM5. It depends. I have an EM1 Mark III. How does it compare to the new OM5? Yeah, OM5. Those are the differences. But depending on your needs, you have so options in the OMSYSTEM. Take a look.
Wow.
I would even say maybe Dave, I feel that you are basically asking if you should actually buy OM5 when you are using EM1 Mark III. I would say that OM5 is not actually the camera for you. You would rather be looking for OM1.
Agree.
Because you probably want a great improvement, massive improvement from your EM1 Mark III. EM5 Mark, OM5 is your camera which you already have in smaller, different design package, right? But if you are looking for something that can, for example, track animals, track birds, with this artificial intelligence, subject tracking and stuff like that, even much faster, even much better image quality because of the stacked sensor and stuff like that, then you should be looking for OM1. Go test it, try it, and definitely this will be your camera.
Good stuff. Okay, let's move on. We have a question from Laura B. Oh, I've got to star it, otherwise Michelle will tell me off. With OM1, when you use spot metering with subject detection, will the spot follow wherever the camera detects the subject? Who wants to take this?
This is a bit tricky. No. Yeah.
I don't think so.
This is one of the improvements in the OM1s from EM1X. In EM1X with subject detection, you had to use the CAF with tracking, and now you can use the subject detection AF with any of the single AF, continuous AF plus tracking. And talking about the subject detection, if you have all of the grid, the target area, the biggest AF area, AF target, the camera will detect birds, and it will focus, when you press the button, it will focus that bird, that subject, that train, that cat, that dog, which is closer to the center, to the middle, okay? But if you limit the area in any other scene, in any other area, in any other zone of the frame, the camera will see, and you will see white squares, as many white squares as subjects the camera detects, but it will only focus on those subjects which are inside the green AF target you have decided. So if you have the smallest AF area, it will not focus on that. You're asking about the spot metering with the subject detection.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and you can associate spot metering with the AF area. In that case, it will work with the subject detection. It will not work with face detection, but it will work with the subject detection.
Yeah, perfect. And would you recommend using a smaller AF point if you're using spot AF, or you think that with the bird AI it's just going to be it would follow it whatever, even if you're using AI, it's perfectly normal, right?
Yeah, because I say because it's different between the AEFs, this face detection and subject detection works different. When you have face detection and you have several people in the scene, the camera will detect all of those faces, and the camera will focus and will prioritize on the bigger head, the closer head or the bigger head. In the case of the subject detection, will prioritize the subject which is in the middle, closer to the middle. Okay. Yeah. Coming back to the training, so coming back to the AEF PDF, how to AEF PDF. Face detection is so powerful. Face selection is so powerful in our camera, and also subject detection. If you know a couple of tricks, it's so accurate and so precise. Yeah. Depending on the scene, you can select a bigger or a smaller AF.
Yeah, and I think we also have to remember that spot metering actually only meters 2% of the image. It's a very fine metering area, isn't it? So if you're trying to meter something that is bigger than sort of 2%, you have to be really spot on with where you want that metering to take place. So spot metering is, our evaluative metering all zone is pretty awesome because it meters in 37 different areas, so it is pretty good. Yes, the spot metering will follow with subject detection. Okay.
I would maybe recommend it in some kind of special situations, when you are shooting, for example, a bird or an animal through some branches, through some grass,
right,
where basically it's most of the animal is, for example, hidden by something, by the branches, by the bushes and so on. and you just see through some, tiny little peak, or see through, you just see its head, or something, then I would definitely use the very tiny focusing point, which would be connected with the spot metering. Then it's okay. Yeah, in this kind of special situation, when you basically use the foreground as a framing, for example, for the animal. Yeah,
good stuff. Okay, I'm going to just jump a couple of questions because I mean, the hour has flown by. I mean, firstly, guys, I would say to you, if you have enjoyed this sort of open tech session, and you would like us to do another one, or you may be like David, or we have lots of tech experts all over Europe and America. It would be and Australia, we'll not forget the Australians. If you would like more of these sessions, all you've got to do is shout, because we're really enjoying it. It's really nice for us to sort of connect with you. So if it's something that you're enjoying and you think this is more, we should run more. But I have a question for Thomas specifically, which is why I started. It
okay,
says,
I go.
Hi, yeah, me too.
Stay.
Hi. So do
you,
you? Roland says, question. I just got my 150 to 400. So happy. Congratulations. But now I'm starting to think, is there any reason for me to keep my 300mm f4? Oh, I love my 300 f4.
Yeah.
Thomas, what do you think?
I mean, honestly, if I tell you the market experience, I'm not going to tell you what I think. I'm going to tell you the market experience. For example, from the Czech market, as soon as 150 to 400 appeared on the market, and professional or even semi-professional photographers got hands on it, they bought one, immediately the second-hand market with 300mm lenses was flooded. This is simply what is happening. It may seem unfortunate for 300. On the other hand, 150 to 400 is not a cheap lens, right? So I would not be able to buy one by myself. And in that case, I will keep two lenses, 4150 2.8 and 300mm with 1.4 teleconverter. So this would be my ideal lens setup for wildlife, for birding. If I was able to buy 150 to 400, I would probably sell my 300mm lens. But it very much depends, it very much depends on whoever you are, what genre you are shooting, and so on. Because 150 400 for me, actually, not only it covers the 300mm range of the 300mm lens, right? But it gives me one great advantage. When I'm shooting animals or birds, I can zoom out, so I see the wide angle, of the feet. I find the animal and then I zoom in. So this is a great advantage of a professional zoom telelens, But yeah. I mean, Claire, Martin, Tito, tell us your experience. Maybe you have a different.
I'm not
okay.
Yeah, two bodies. I have a 150 to 400 on one body, and I have my 300 f4 on the other body. And I mean, I think it's quite greedy because I have the option to use both. But when I say that the 300 is just one of those lenses that is just so dear to my heart, a bit like the 40 to 150 2.8, and when it locks on, it locks on. So I do tend to keep one of each. If I'm going out on a wildlife stroke birds in flight type photography day, and I do happen to have the 150 to 400 on me because we only have one in the UK and it does go around the team, then I do tend to take both. I have the EM1X with my 300, and then I'll have my OM1 with the 150 400. So I'm just lucky that I get to borrow one. What about you, Tito?
Yeah, I will have into consideration a couple of things. Obviously, if you the budget is important, but also a 300mm lens, f4mm lens, that lens is nice. That lens is absolutely amazing. But depending on the, of course, 150 to 400mm lens is much more versatile. It's a zoom. It's a fascinating lens, depending on the conditions of your shooting. If you are in a height, for example, let me talk about a concrete and specific situation. You're in a height and you have birds coming, birds flying. The 150 to 400 will provide you, will let you work, will let you play with different distances, in the framing in different distances. But also when the bird is posing, and if you have a control situation in the height and you have the distance control and the framing control for the 300 millimeter f4 lens, the best images will come from that lens.
Yeah.
Best lens developed. So of course, if you have a 300 millimeters lens, now you have read the zoom lens, and you're thinking about I will sell the 304 millimeters f4 millimeters lens. Okay, I will keep it, depending on if you need the money or you don't need the money. And if I wouldn't have any of those lenses, of course, and I have enough budget, I have enough money, I will buy the telelens, obviously. And also, the price is quite different, of course.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I think there is a similar discussion about two other lenses, and that is 1240 to 8 and 12-100 4, where 12 to 100 is extremely sharp lens. I mean, this is, I would even say that this is one of the best zoom lenses we have ever made, because it's so sharp in all focal lengths, and it even has the image stabilization, built in. So this is a brilliant lens. And there are many people discussing or asking questions. Shall I keep my 1240 to 8 when I'm buying 12 to 100, or shall I not, In this case, it's maybe a little bit easier to answer, because 1240 is 2.8, and it gives you, let's say, a little bit more advantages in darker conditions, when you are shooting out there, when it's getting dark, and so on. So it gives you a little bit, let's say, better shutter speeds, to keep the image steady. On the other hand, 12-100 has the built-in image stabilization. So again, it compensates somehow, but it has, longer focal length. You can go up to 100, which is 200 millimeter equivalent. So again, it depends. It depends.
Yeah.
On the photographer, on the genre, on what you want to carry with you.
If you need the money, sell the 300 millimeters lens. If you don't need the money, keep it.
I do know what you're saying. As I said, it's we waited so long for the 300 to come, and then when it came, we were like, wow. And the 150 to 400 is, the top end of the money bracket. It's the most expensive lens we do. And if you are lucky, you can afford it, great. But you know what? The 300 f4 and the 40 to 150 2.8 with a 2x converter are both absolutely incredible pieces of kit. I mean, the glass is just amazing. So you've got a lot of options, thankfully. And if you can't afford a 150 to 400 or a 300, there'll be lots of 300s out there on the secondhand market as well, or even on our refurb shop. So you can check out those as well. Now, guys, did you know that it is already 3 minutes past 9? We have gone the hour, and we haven't even got through half of the questions. So I definitely think this is going to have to be a regular slot, because I've really enjoyed it tonight, I've got to say. It's actually been really good fun, and I've really loved, apart from sort of seeing you and actually doing work publicly, because we always see each other on Teams and we have lots of chats, but I've really enjoyed it. Have you enjoyed it?
I've enjoyed a lot. Yeah, I've enjoyed very much. It's been a really good, a very nice and exciting experience. I have to apologize because of my English. Maybe I can do it better, but I really enjoyed a lot, and I had I enjoyed a lot with both of you, because I've been with you in other times, meetings every day. We talk oftenly, but not publicly, and also I have to thank all of those the people in the chat, because they've been really proactive. There are so many comments. So.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I mean, we got there's a gentleman, David Allen, who was in our talk the other night, Thomas, and he's just said perhaps the 1 hour time limit is too short. Now, if you can speak Czech, and if you can go on one of Thomas's live streams, Thomas, tell the viewers quickly how long you like to talk on your Facebook lives in Czech.
I mean, usually, you can have a look at some of them actually at OMSYSTEM YouTube channel as well. Unfortunately, they are in Czech for you. Unfortunately for you, luckily for Czech people. But yeah, I mean, it's quite typical that with ambassadors we talk 2 hours and more, and I still need to actually push them. Hey guys, we need to end up. It's 2 hours gone already. So Czechs are too talkative. We are sorry for that. There are even some regions which talk even more than we do. But yeah, they just like to talk. That's it.
I think I do think the sessions are easier when there's 3 of us. It's certainly gone flying by for me tonight when I do one of these by myself. They're not hard, but they are full on. And obviously when you have a team helping you, it does make it a lot longer. But it does, I definitely think we'll go for longer next time. Keep your eyes out. Michela, who heads up our events team, will be on our cases to get another one of these booked in, I'm sure. And of course, we're going to do it in the evening because we can get all the whole global OM system. So I'd like to say thank you for you to watching, and I'd like to say thank you to Tito and Thomas, and thank you to David, who is in the back end. We will go in and answer all those questions, and we'll definitely be doing this again. Thank you to Michela for also putting up all the links and bits and pieces in the back end. As I said, we're one big global team, so thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Oh, and happy OM System Day.
Thank you, Claire. See you soon.
See you soon, guys. Take care.
Thank you all, guys. And have a